Now this 6 to fix in 6 is slightly different because there's not 6, there's only 4, so we should get through it fairly quickly. But it's addressing a key issue that many of our clients facing, which is how do they go about reducing deviations? You know, they've taken their deviation investigators through root cause analysis training. They're trying to investigate every incident at the same level of detail. The challenge is the frequency of those incidents are not coming down. So what I'm going to share with you is a process to really drive down the levels of deviations by, instead of treating each incident separately, taking a step back and actually looking at the bigger picture and tackling groups of deviations and hitting them all at the same time. Now, if you really want to drive down the numbers of deviations as quickly as possible, because let's face it, very few companies have the time and resource to do that, to investigate each and every incident effectively. What I'd really encourage you to do is to take a step back and look at the big picture. Certainly there are some deviations that immediately stand out as major, significant, and they warrant a very detailed, individual, team-led investigation. But in most cases, certainly in a controlled process, most of these other incidents are of lesser significance, unless your process is entirely out of control. What I'd really encourage you to do is to actually look for patterns and look for clusters, look for common themes and common trends. So whether it be every month or every week, take a step back and reflect coolly as to what, if any, are the patterns. Maybe this cluster of deviations are associated with a particular process step, or this cluster of deviations are associated with a particular plant or a particular part of the process. Now, this is a judgment that you have to make, but you know, if you simply visualize the deviations, get the subject matter experts, the users, looking at those and saying, okay, are there any obvious themes, any obvious patterns here? And then you take that cluster relating to a particular process step and you run a FedEx day. As we've discussed before, FedEx days is when you expect that dedicated group of users to deliver the solution in one day. But they're not investigating individual deviations, they're actually investigating, this could be associated with one particular SOP. So the task that this FedEx day is tackling is that one SOP. Solving that task actually then solves six deviations. So FedEx Day is a dedicated group of small, smart people, as we've discussed before, in an environment that is distraction-free. That's really key. And you've got to get those key stakeholders in a room. These key stakeholders have got to have a what's in it for me, so that they're personally engaged in the solution. They can see the benefit to them of solving the problem. Less stress, less hassle, less documentation. You've got to make sure that you've provided them with the problem-solving toolkit that will enable them to take that cluster of deviations and solve the underlying problem. You know, the types of tools that we cover on our problem-solving course include the error chain. You know, we never use the term root cause. We always talk about the error chain, multiple contributing factors, to encourage people to get beneath the surface of the problem rather than just going for the obvious. Ishikawa, a really great method that many of you will be familiar with to visualize data to help you understand it. Process mapping, lots of tools and techniques that many of you will already be familiar with. The key thing is to make sure that these key stakeholders, the operators, the engineers, actually can use those techniques comfortably. So FedEx Day, key stakeholders focusing on one cluster of deviations, and you know, the output from the FedEx Day is obviously immediate implementation of the preventive actions that are recommended. So in summary, so often companies tie themselves up in knots because they try and investigate every deviation to the same level of detail, and that's when you get reoccurrence, because the corrective and preventive actions go no further than retraining or adding additional detail to the SOP, to the batch manufacturing record or work instruction. By taking this approach, you're actually looking for patterns and trends, you're focusing on common themes, and certainly in our experience, if you follow that process, distraction-free, problem-solving environment with the key stakeholders who have skin in the game, they really want to fix this, making sure that they have the tools and techniques and the knowledge to do it, and then making sure that the leadership responsible for the resources actually implement what they recommend. One of our clients ran FedEx Days in this format. They generated $2.5 million of savings as a result of this kind of very focused but nonetheless big picture approach. So go away, try that, let me know how you get on, because I feel that you're going to really benefit from it.